They're really giving everything they have into the business that they've created and into the community that they are nurturing. And their help and their patience and their enthusiasm was something which is rare and is one of the reasons I think that in the long term they're going to succeed very well here.
I want to thank particularly Maria and Ram, who were great initiatives of this program, and I guess I speak in the name of all participating startups here. Thank you.
I want to say hi to the other countries tuned in. We've marketed this event also in Finland very strongly and in Israel.
I'm going to tell you exactly why, the reasons why you're here and what we're going to get out of the day as well. Please put your hands together for the founder of Accelerator Frankfurt, Mr. Ram Shoham.
Business life, startup life, entrepreneur, it's all about people. Because it is a big day for Accelerator Frankfurt.
I think that it's a wonderful area to actually develop and adopt initial customers.
This feeling that failing is very, very bad. And if you're an entrepreneur, if you want to do something, you have to have the ability.
I think the unique thing that actually Frankfurt brings is this connection with Israel. We all know Israel is a startup hub, like the second after Silicon Valley. And what we want to do here in Frankfurt is really create a vibrant ecosystem. And for that, I think it helps that we have this Israeli startups coming to Frankfurt, mixing with their own, with crazy ideas and crazy ways of doing things, with a more stable, down-to-earth, German way, systematic way of doing things.
VCs, business angels. I think you have the biggest responsibility of nurturing our startup ecosystem. You are the oxygen for the startups.
Maria and Ram, they have a huge background and experience in bringing up startups. So they come from communities in Israel and Finland, where startup is a very strong community and maybe much more active and dynamic than in Germany. And they have brought that spirit to Germany.
No, it's definitely been an outstanding experience, so I would definitely rate it as a 10, for sure.
It would be a 10. Honestly, first program we participated in, but it certainly over-delivered our expectations.
Yeah, this would be absolutely like 100, but if it's at 10, it's close, then I would say 10.
I had it.
Maybe you've seen me from a distance. Or you've heard about me. You even may have met up close. But how well do you really know me? So let me introduce myself properly. This is my high five, my low five, A5. This is me. This is me. This too. This is me centuries ago. This is me today. For me, tradition is the foundation for trying out new things. Big and small. It takes me 23 minutes to get to here, from here, to go here. I've shaped the history of commerce. And my history keeps shaping me. I love big numbers, except when it's the small ones that count. For some, I'm the journey. For others, the reward. If you asked people about my strengths, few would say beauty. You know what? I agree. But the thing about beauty is, it's in the eye of the beholder. I think it's time we finally get to know each other. I am the Frankfurt Rhine-Main region. Become a part of it.
Is it now or get on the phone with me? Yeah, now. So we missed again the live. We are live. Good morning, everybody. It's Monday, May 4th. It is basically the second week of Accelerator Frankfurt program. The startups have got to know most of the mentors by now. Last week they've had mentoring sessions throughout all the day, and basically we are now coming to the last sprint of the mentor sessions. So today and tomorrow there will be still mentor sessions. We are collecting all the feedback from the mentors. We already received great emails with great feedback to give the startups, and after tomorrow the acceleration really begins. This is where things need to start happening. So we will debrief with the companies, we'll agree on how to move forward, and take it from there. Now we have Valega, our first startup of the day, which will present to two of our mentors. But before we get to that, I'd like to invite Dieter and Thomas to give a short introduction who they are, just for also the viewers. Talking about the viewers, we've had over 120 subscribers now on our Twitch channel. We've been in the news already in the US with over 1 million views. So a live accelerator is making news around the world. Maybe this is the next big thing. So Dieter, you are live. I haven't checked how many viewers we have this morning online, but go ahead, charm us.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. So it's really cool format. Ram, I really agree with you, and I also realize the media presence and also the feedback in the channel. So to Valega, yeah, my name is Dieter. I'm a mentor in that program, and I'm supporting startups from, let me say, from the first idea, business idea, till they get ready to move that as an innovation into the market. So the way I'm supporting startups is more or less in the commercialization of a business idea. So I'm doing already today with multiple startups. Actually, I'm currently supporting 4 teams, 2 from Germany, 1 from Belgium, and 1 from Finland, Helsinki. Which I was introduced to by Ram actually some time back. So my activity is basically around helping teams in B2B business to connect to the market using my network, which I have my capabilities. And the capabilities more or less come from own founding of a company, having had 2 exits behind me, having gained a lot of experience, have been successful, have been non-successful, have been so la, and mixing that all with the industry experience of almost 30 years in high-tech ICT industry, now with almost 30 years and almost 15 years in startup community. That is basically the combination which I'm using, supporting teams like yourself, helping them, as I said before, connecting to the market. And I'm also quite often connecting people I come across with. I buy into mentality and people and attitude, connecting them with my network, and then trying to build the business to the benefit of the startup and also mid-sized company or other companies. That's more or less what I'm doing.
Thank you, Dieter. Excellent intro. Thomas, hello, and I love the picture behind you. I think that is not a picture downloaded from the internet. It's probably you or your wife who took it.
It's terribly right. This is actually taken by me. It's once a year we are in Mozambique swimming with those wild dolphins in the deep blue ocean, and yeah, that's breathtaking. And you get actually that close to these fancy animals.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Thomas is my name. I am originally born in the north of Germany. I'm based in Frankfurt now. My first life, I was a consultant with Accenture, formerly known as Anderson Consulting, formerly known as Arthur Anderson. The last 5, 6, 7 years, I was a partner there. I left after 20 years in Accenture. I left the firm, deciding to do something serious, and I started spending all my money in startups. Whether that was so serious, I'm not sure yet. I have been a founder, co-founder, managing director several times, and also been an angel investor in several startups. I have a small portfolio of about a dozen startups. Some of them are right small, but there is a major one which called Ambutex that I have co-founded, where I used to be an MD and I'm now back as an MD and CFO since January. And we have restructured the company, and we are now up for rising the company, hopefully. My experience is mostly in the area. It's a horizontal rather than a vertical experience. I'm not a blockchain or a financial guy, but I know how to set up companies, how to organize business cases, business plans, ask these questions you don't want to be asked, and take a deep look into the organization, see where the flaws are, and make sure that the companies are rounded up and not just a bunch of techies that have a bright idea, but also something that maybe there's a market for and can be sold to a market. So more a generalistic view rather than an expert view that I take on those companies. Yeah, as I said, I'm based here. I'm 62, have a son, 3 grandchildren. I'm married. My hobbies is flying helicopters. I mean, real helicopters, not those remote controls, and diving with dolphins, obviously.
Awesome, Thomas. Thank you very much for the intro. Michael, let's give them a brief intro from Jerusalem, and then we take the startup.
After that very impressive intro, I am the bravest thing that I ever did was being an Israeli. So that's about it for me. I'm Michael. I'm head of the Research, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship Authority at Azrieli College of Engineering, the only college in Jerusalem teaching engineering and technology for the last 20 years. I'm running A2B Startup Accelerator within the college. We are accelerating startups for the last 6 years. 54 companies raised over $30 million dollars and rising. We are now at the 6th cohort with another 12 companies. I'm also representing a VC called Launchit Capital and few other angel investors. I'm a chief analyst at the fund, and we invested in 32 startups already and rising. So I'm here to help out, to polish, to give you my 5 cents on every subject and get you investment ready.
Great, Michael. Thank you very much. And Launching Capital also invested in one of the accelerator startups, I think the 2nd cohort.
Definitely, yeah.
Cool. All right, CEO of Valega, Sven, good afternoon. Please take it from here. The floor is yours. You have about 50 minutes. Mentors, feel free to cut him off. Feel free to ask questions. We're here to learn. And don't forget to take notes and share it with Maria and myself after the mentoring sessions.
All right, so good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for coming and taking the time to meet with us. So as Ram said, I'm Sven Martinsen, and I'm the founder and CEO of Valega Chain Analytics. And what we do is analyze transactions on the blockchain. So I'm going to share my screen here with you so that you can look at our pretty canvas we have been working on. Let's see how to do this. Can you see my screen now? I think there should be now there, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
we can see.
perfect. Perfect. So Valega Chainalytics was founded 2 years ago, and it was based out of a need that we saw from this rising technology that was blockchain, but also the usage of virtual currencies, right? So something that we started noticing happening as adoption was becoming a thing was that there was quite a lot of crime and quite a lot of distrust from not only crypto people like virtual asset holders, but also from financial institutions, governments, and the companies who were already established in the more centralized market. So we decided to set out to see how could we meet this issue, since we were ourselves working in the blockchain sphere. And as we were looking at the market itself for compliance and for regulatory measures with crypto as they were rising, we could see that the amount of tools out there weren't very prominent. And the ones that were, they were very hard to use. There was a lot of lack of blockchain knowledge in general from the industry itself at times, from law enforcement. The amount of communication between fintech companies, exchanges, regulators, they were basically non-existent. And also the access to easy to use tools for reporting and sharing of these illicit activities that were happening when transactions were going on the blockchain. So we decided to actually just build the tool ourselves to try and meet this demand that was rising, and also to be able to show that, hey, you know, like most people who are trading and doing things on blockchain are actually just legit traders or legit businesses who just want to provide business as usual and hope for a bigger mass adoption in this new financial instrument we have found. So the solution itself is an analysis tool that is quickly implemented with an API to whatever company is using this, and it's a compliance tool. It's downright a compliance tool. So what we have done is that we look at the regulations as they are today, and we build the tool to meet those regulations. I think the most important one most recently is this 5 AMLD, which is the 5 Anti-Money Laundering Directive. And that is to fight money laundering, financing of terrorism, as well as the other things that come with illicit activities, such as human trafficking. We've been working on some child abuse cases and the likes. And this is really to try and make sure that companies who are working with us are compliant and not accepting these kind of transactions, or at the very least reporting them when they see these suspicious transactions happening. And on the top of that, we have also built an investigation tool. So once we do see that a suspicious activity has happened, we have been able to work together with law enforcement to actually do forensic investigations, trace the money, really follow the trail of where these funds are going until we can hopefully find the culprit behind these organized crimes or these illicit transactions. So that is the basic of what the tool is and what we do. What we see as our unique value proposition is really that we can do real-time analysis. We have an extremely large database, which is very qualitative. We have been able throughout the years to link these addresses. So addresses are basically the bank accounts on the blockchain, right? So if you have a Bitcoin address, that means downright that it's your account number, where the money falls into. So we have been able to link several of these to specific entities, and that can be everything from exchanges, gambling companies, payment businesses, loan businesses, all the likes. And that's really to try and classify them as like suspicious, safe, or illegal, right?
Do you
Yeah.
have to have a certificate partner with one of the platforms that is actually conducting the activity, or you are an add-on to any system?
So actually, we have just built. What we have done is actually we have downloaded the entire blockchain onto our servers, and we have been able to classify them because, of course, the information that is on the blockchain is open. It is transparent. It is really a matter of really roaming through everywhere you can to find out where these are linked. And that has really been the work that we have been doing for the past years, is really building this database and linking them to the correct identities. So when you have, for example, an exchange, which is a cryptocurrency exchange, if they're exchanging from Bitcoin to, for example, fiat, we have been able to analyze that, okay, so these addresses do belong to an exchange, so then we can label them as such. And of course, a lot of it is also help from law enforcement. It is from the exchanges themselves who decide that they can share this information and say, hey, we know that this belongs to that, we know that this belongs to this. So we can then grow our database in that way. So that's kind of how it's been built, if that answers your question.
I was talking actually about the users. So the users are using anything. Are you embedding your solution within the current platform existing, or do you give a service that is not connected to any of them? Or
yeah, no. So yeah, we do connect our services through an API, so the platforms themselves can use it as their own systems. And then if they do, for example, if they have traders on board, they have probably done their own KYC processes and such. So that makes it even easier to be able to link whatever is happening on the system on their platform to a specific person's identity, for example, so that it can really kind of spur on this whole safe transactions and really knowing your customer and knowing your transaction, which has become a big part of this 5AMLD. So yeah, we do connect to these platforms through API. We can white label solutions as well. For example, if a bigger company wants to be able to do these and feel like this is their own platform and they want to connect everything to their own systems and their own data, this is totally doable as well. And everything is real-time data analysis. So we have, like I said, the blockchain downloaded, the nodes, we're running our own nodes, so we can really tell that, hey, the moment something has changed, the moment something happens or moves on the blockchain, we know it immediately. And we then immediately also start classifying them to where they're supposed to be. And we have right now been targeting the Nordics, the Baltics, hopefully soon also Germany is coming into this. And we're looking at not only SMEs, but also bigger companies who want to include us in their type of portfolio. And that brings us a little bit more towards the customer segments that we have. The one we've already mentioned is, of course, the exchanges. They are the ones who are kind of the first line of defense. They're the ones who are trading cryptocurrencies, virtual assets, and trading them into fiat, right? And once they're doing that, then that falls into the financial institutions. And the financial institutions, they really have a necessity to know that money that is coming in are coming from virtual assets. And we actually conducted a quite big kind of questionnaire to see how many banks do actually ask the question, do your customers have virtual assets? And to our big surprise, there was not a single bank that actually had that question. Many would say, yeah, but we don't accept clients who have cryptocurrencies. And I would say, but how do you actually know that? How would you actually know? Because many times this is hidden, so they're still possibly using those platforms to launder some money. And I have my business partner here as well, Jonathan. And did I miss anything there on the financial institutions? I know he has been quite into that right now. Maybe he can give an input on that customer segment as well, since that's a pretty big one, especially in Germany now coming up.
Yes, thank you, Sven. And just if I can just say some word about maybe I would say from two perspectives. Maybe the obvious reason why we think financial institutions is sort of our customers, and I think as we see now, was it BaFin now who received 40 applications from the German banks in handling Bitcoin custody. So those becomes directly our customers, because we can then provide our database and our services and our forensics and all other sort of regulatory tools to make sure that if they're now going to have a new customer base which are now going to be sort of handling Bitcoins and trading with that inside the banking platform, then we can become a very helpful partner in that space. So I think that's maybe most the obvious case we have with financial institutions. Maybe the not so obvious cases which we have, and it becomes sort of an educational course for us, and it becomes actually I would say that all financial institutions are indirectly our customers in that space, because if we're speaking from not so obvious perspective, is that we see that, for example, there is no really defense systems or database or enhanced due diligence with people that has virtual assets. And we can really go down and we can cater to this other side of a decentralized economy and make sure that financial institutions has all the regulatory and defense systems in place, so that nobody's really using your banking platform for laundering money. And I think this becomes we have been very good in communicating this in Finland, that by simply not accepting bitcoins in your platform doesn't make you free from money laundering. It really comes down to teaching and to emphasize this and make sure that they understand that. So I think that is like maybe our two business cases that we have, very obvious and not so obvious when it comes to financial institutions.
Absolutely, agreed.
And can I ask a question here, as we are talking about the business cases here? Is that okay?
Yep.
Jonathan, what you just were hinting to is also then having a broader view on banks being your target. Are you also having in mind in exploring, let me say, the landscape where new industry, in particular, given current times, decentralizing manufacturing capacities, to move that tool as a kind of a validation tool, opening up industries, applying new business models, like in my other favorite one besides fintech is additive manufacturing, where dynamics is rather high, and where I personally see right now a huge move where the big OEMs, not only car manufacturers, preparing for blockchain-based business models. As a consequence, all the mid-sized companies will have to be in the same kind of range. Still, there is, as you mentioned, education, there's trust. There's no trust yet as it is in relation to fiat money being moved from A to B. So it needs some education. So the question to you is, are you seeing your capability also to be utilized to, let me say, enable or preparing a clean table to enable new business models in that kind that, like, for example, additive manufacturing is going to move to in the very near future?
Thank you, Dieter, and that is a really good question. And I would say that we are actually, since the moment somebody's using blockchain technology or doing some kind of transactions, whether it's automotive or whether it's in the fintech, we can definitely cater to that one and help with our database and sort of the tool that we have built. So it is really possible. We would just have to understand a little bit how the construction of that platform inside that sector is built, right? And once we understand that better, then we can tell them like, okay, so we can help you out with this part and so on.
Exactly. I can jump in on that as well. We did actually look into the supply chain industry for a little while. We had a pretty big Finnish company who was transacting with massive amounts of supplies from Latin America to Finland. And that was, of course, very interesting to see them using a blockchain platform to really keep track of what was going on. And the idea where we could cater to that is, for example, that once you see that somebody's building on blockchain, they're using this thing called gas money. So what they're actually doing is that they're purchasing money on the platform to build the blockchain itself. And that we can analyze as long as they're open with the data that they have onto our platform and show like, hey, this is the transparency that we're showing, then of course we can do it. But we still see that that is still a little bit in the future. I think that what really needs to happen, or what is happening, is that the financial institutions, law enforcement, regulators, they're all coming together now, really starting to build this framework, which is very important for the future. I think the main one to look at is actually SWIFT, the protocol that is made for money transfers. They are now experimenting with R3 Corda blockchain, and they have done successful transfers. They have done quite a lot of this, and that is already a massive step. And I think that is why we now have these 40 German banks applying for becoming Bitcoin brokers. I think that's very important. But of course, a lot of it falls back into supply chain in the future as well, allowing for this mass adoption of technology.
And you are aware that not every bank will do that. So basically, there's a banking structure in Germany. I've come across that, where particular, let me say, hand-picked banks are going to do that. So not every, let me say, kind of retail bank can offer that to their customers. There's a structure you have to understand.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, from what we have been seeing is a lot of them will, not necessarily in Germany, but I think Germany's kind of leading the charge right now, since so many of these banks have at least applied for the license, which means that they can at least trade the currency. And over there already, we can already start doing that kind of analysis. And you have other ones that are up and coming. You know, you have Revolut, who has been very prominent in the fintech scene, already accepting this kind of trades with Bitcoin that can be analyzed. And as long as this starts happening, you know, it's just a matter of time before some form of this technology will be used for standard transactions, at least. And yes, some of them might take longer, but others are already happening, and the industry is definitely growing at a very rapid rate. So that's kind of what we're looking at. And a part of it also plays into cybersecurity. Now with this COVID-19 situation, we have seen a mass increase in ransomware attacks for hospitals. Some exchanges have been attacked, some banks have been attacked, and of course with this comes this incident response, and that goes hand in hand with law enforcement, because we do these reports, we do these forensic investigations. So that has just opened up a brand new customer segment that we have been looking into quite a lot. And for us to be able to transfer that knowledge into cybersecurity as well has proven quite useful and not so hard for us to do. But of course, there are resources necessary for that. And that's kind of where we think about the portfolio kind of idea, where we enter as somebody who is already prominent in the scene, and we become kind of like the crypto experts on that.
So how do you think you can then, let me say, crack the doors of your target group? How can you convince them, or in nicer words, what's your go-to-market strategy? What are the items you are going to use to gain attention of these type of people you need to talk to?
Well, in the terms of money laundering, financing of terrorism, and the illicit activities that are downright illegal, I can show you very quickly here how the situation looks like. This is directly a screenshot, or not a screenshot. This is directly a share from our database. And if we look at the situation right now, this is on the entire blockchain for, I think this is Bitcoin, right? I'm sure. Yeah, this is Bitcoin. So 69, almost 70% of people who are trading, they're legit traders and businesses who are just running business as usual, as I mentioned before. You have approximately 25%, which are downright suspicious. These are gambling companies and the like. So things where we don't know, depending on which jurisdiction you're in, either they're illegal or they're not. And then we have 5.6%, so almost 6% that are actually full-on illegal transactions. This has grown by 1.5% in the past 3 months. So the regulation that we have right now, this 5AMLD, it forces customers who are doing these kind of trades to know their transactions, know where the money they're using is coming from. So this is not just something that you can do if you want to. This is something you have to do. So the tools that are out there are extremely costly. They are very complicated to use, and this is where we have come in and said, hey, you know what, you need to do this anyway, you need to be compliant. So instead of having a team of 30 compliance officers in your smaller exchange, maybe just implement a tool, have one compliant officer, compliance officer and start doing these analysis in real time. So that is kind of where our go-to-market has been, of course, and we do this a lot through going to events and the similar. Yeah.
Quick thing. Can you elaborate on the regulation, because this is critical. What is this regulation? The 5 AMLD or what?
Yeah. So it is the 5th anti-money laundering directive. Right, and this came around from a massive need from the scandals we saw a couple of years ago with the money laundering that was going on. And this was a lot of the Baltics, some German banks, some Swedish banks, they were all involved in this. And this kind of new way of trying to understand where money transactions are coming from, that's where this regulation came from, or this directive. So this, of course, also played into the cryptocurrency market. So you do need to know your transaction, which is the KYT, as we call it. And this is key to really keep a transparent, open mind of what is going on when money is being transacted across borders, right? So
this regulation, is that across the board the same?
Well, it is the directive, it's the European directive. It came from the Financial Action Task Force's what they were thinking should be done.
Recommendation.
So, yeah, recommendation. Thank you.
Okay.
So yeah, this was implemented on the 10th of January this year. And how it's been met has been a lot of kind of how the world was prepared for GDPR. So in essence, not prepared at all. They figured, oh, well, we'll wait, and once it comes in, it'll come, and then we deal with it later. But now we're seeing that this is not like these regulations for privacy. This is all of a sudden a lot of money. So the crackdowns that have been happening on businesses, smaller companies, they have been quite a lot bigger. You know, so this is where we kind of push and say, hey, you need to do this. You have to be compliant. So let us help you. You know, let us not break your accounts. You know, because some of these tools are expensive. And the same thing falls for banks and financial institutions in general when they have to start looking into this when they having customers that are doing these transactions. So that's kind of where it came from. Just to very briefly show you what the tool would actually look like in practice. It's like, let's say that you've connected your API and you're running these transactions are happening constantly, right? Like thousands and thousands of transactions going through your exchange or your bank. So it will analyze everything in real time and give you the response very quickly. Right now, you see quite a lot of reds and yellows on my screen. This will hopefully not be the case for businesses who are compliant. This is, of course, because we look into the illicit transactions the most. But it's much simpler to use than what we see out there today. So you have the bank accounts, as they are called, the addresses. That's that information right there. You can get immediately an information about the actual transaction itself. So this we know is from the dark market. It's downright an illegal transaction. You can very quickly download a report. And this specific one hasn't received so much money, but it was definitely somewhere on the dark market. I actually have a case from the Finnish one that there was a
Do you have cases? Do you have cases in that environment where you realize, oh, our judgment was wrong? It wasn't illegal. Our categorization went wrong. And if you have this kind of case, does your system technically learn in that way that it avoids that misinterpretation next time?
Yes, so false positives can, of course, happen. These are usually not when it's something that is illegal or suspicious. This is mostly if it's something that is actually flagged as safe, right? But what it has done is that we can then see why was that the case, right? Because, of course, a lot of addresses come out, they are new. So when somebody's transacting with something that has not previously been flagged, what you can actually do is, as a client, you can set your custom risk, or you can actually flag the transaction itself as illicit. So please report the address. That's one way to do it. And as this has been happening now, it's been a few years, we have machine learning algorithms that are looking at patterns, seeing like, how does this work? to have these false positives basically disappear. With any system, there'll always be some of those, but we are pretty sure that our database is quite sturdy on that side. And now really basically the false positives we get are now on the suspicious activities. But that is, of course, then depending on what jurisdiction you're in. So that is why they're suspicious. So if you're in Finland and you see that something has gone here, for example, you see this 99 dice, we know that this is an entity that has been involved with money laundering. People have tried to do this before. So when that happens, we can say, hey, are you in a country where gambling is legal? Then this should be green, but then you can set that risk for yourself as a safe one. Are you in Finland? This is downright illegal, so then that should be red. So then you can set the custom risk as red in your system, and that then makes it, as it goes, safer and safer. And of course, when we see that a regulation have changed and we see that, okay, now this is like on a more global scale, then we will change that on a universal level, so to speak.
Would you expect some impact on your business scaling coming from that one? What I mean is that, if everything is the same but actually not the same and it needs adaptation, is the adaptation only the way your customer, let me say in Finland, in Brazil, in Germany, in Switzerland, is basically setting the parameters? Is that the adaptation? Or would you require more massive product changes, solution changes, which basically would add cost and make it not so easy, your solution to scale?
I would say that no, it shouldn't be that complicated to do in general, because we do look at what are the major regulations out there, and of course now Europe is the main one. So what does it look like on the European scenery? So everything that we have put here is in compliance with the European regulation, and also a lot of the American one, because they are kind of the ones who are deciding how the crypto regulation should look like. But of course, we are providing data. That is what it is. We're not catching the criminals. We're not out there saying you need to stop this transaction. We're saying we're giving you the information. You as a business, you have now all this information. You have to act accordingly, right? And big part of it, once you have a suspicious transaction coming through, so let's say this gambling one came through your exchange, it is your obligation by law to look into this and report this as something that is suspicious or illegal to the police. What we have then done is that we have made it as easy as possible to do this. So you can actually just generate a police report right here on the system, and you can write the amount of transaction, you put the ID from your own exchange, you say what it was, and then the date and the time and location. So then you can that already starts to help out. This is more targeted now towards the Nordic ones. So then you have at least done that little part where you've said, I have already done my compliance part, for example. So that is kind of what it looks like. So everybody has their own obligation to look into these themselves.
I have a couple of questions, if it's okay.
Of course, absolutely.
Sure. Is the system self-onboarding? So, or do you have to spend some time with the customer? And because I know already that it's a long sales cycle to sell to the financial institutions, and not to mention the big ones, and it is it's going to require a lot of liability on your side. That what you're saying is actually true, and can or do you have to sit with every customer and actually embed the system within and train the people and so on?
So the actual implementation of the tool itself, that is quite straightforward implementation of an API, and we have done it as simple as possible. And all the information that is required for the tech people to implement this, it's all there. Step 1, step 2, it's all there, exactly how they need to do it. When it comes to the more corporate side and the compliance side, we do prefer to sit with a customer talk to them, show them, okay, this is what the situation is, this is what the law is. So it is a much more personal approach. And we have felt that we have looked at both sides, where we just basically send information, where we try to onboard on a more digital level. But we noticed that due to the amount of understanding, not only for the regulations, but also how the technology works, it is just easier for us to actually just talk to them, have 2 sessions where we can discuss this. We're going to start doing some webinars on this. We talk to legal organizations, like so law firms, and educate them on what the situation is, how these exchanges or financial institutions are kind of meeting this new requirements, so that they also know. So we do quite a lot of this educational work ourselves, talking to the people who are the stakeholders in this.
Sven, do you guys need, when you're onboarding to a bank, do you need to educate a particular person, and how does that process go?
Yeah, so usually the people who we will immediately talk to is mainly the head of digitalization, which is now a thing usually, the head of compliance, and at times also the business developer, the head of business development. So those are the people in banks that we have usually spoken to. And of course, that depends a little bit on country to country how that hierarchy goes. But those 3 have been the ones that we kind of reach out to. And it has been that, yes, we do have to educate a little bit of this, but a lot of it, they know that this is coming. They do understand that this is coming and that they have to meet this demand somehow. What we can give to it is the understanding of how this is going to come, what the trends are, and what tools can be used to meet this demand in a much faster way than starting to develop everything yourself in-house from scratch, right? And that's why we also have done the whole part that you can also white label this.
Sure. Maybe go a little bit through the cost structure and your revenue model.
Yep.
This is actually Thomas. Thomas is good in this. Let's see how you guys make money.
Yeah. So what we have done is fairly straightforward. At least we think is fairly straightforward. So for when it comes to, for example, exchanges and these early adopters, right? The smaller organizations, the ones who just easily connect with their API and just use the system running in the background. That's a software as a service structure that we have put there. And because we've seen that has up to now just worked the easiest, because then they just connect the API, it's running in the background, and that's that. When it comes to the law enforcement, cybersecurity, that is more incident responses and deeper kind of forensic investigations. What we have done there, it's that on a case-by-case basis, it's an hourly cost for the work that we're doing, since it's a kind of a different side of it. And when it then comes to the bigger institutions, financial institutions, or these, well, incident response insurance companies, then if they want it on their systems, then we do the white label. And then of course that is something that we negotiate, how much time it's going to take to implement, and kind of what the budgets are and such. So then it's on a more negotiation style, so we're leasing the service itself or the tool itself. So yeah, those are the 3 that we kind of use.
Yeah, I'd like to hook on to that, and also some other question for my understanding. You talk about false positive. I would see that the false negatives are more impacting the quality of your system. Do you have any experience what ratio you would have false negatives on the system? And yeah, that's one question. And the other one, are you asset agnostic? So I've seen Bitcoin and I've seen Ether on this one screen you had. Would it also work on, contracts? There's an asset, a house sold over the Bitcoin, over the blockchain, would that also be included?
Yeah, so I can answer that question first. And there is, of course, we're now using, it's the currencies themselves, right? Those are the ones we analyze. Those ones are being traded on a daily basis. And now, yeah, we have Bitcoin and Ethereum, since those are the 2 biggest and the most important ones to look at. Of course, as the technology grows, I think that, yeah, we will be implementing not only more currencies, but maybe more analysis into the assets themselves. But of course, for that to happen, there has to be a database where people have been looking into these things. A lot of it does come from a community, saying, hey, this is a scam. And then they'll put it out there, and we then roam the dark net to really look at it. So then it comes to the false data, positives and negatives. What happens there? Since the blockchain is so open, it is transparent. When we see that something belongs to an entity, we're pretty sure that it belongs to that entity. So the chances of there being a mistake in that are quite small. Now, if we see that something is on the dark market, if we know that, okay, this is Silk Road, the chances of that being an illegal transaction are extremely high, because that's where people go to buy drugs, illegal weapons. At some of these sites also have child pornography or human trafficking. Then we can be sure that, okay, this is not going to be a suspicious transaction. This is going to be downright an illegal transaction. So that's where that part goes. But as we can see, most people are on the green side of things. They're doing the as transparently as possible. And this is also a lot of businesses, loan companies to some extent, and the likes, right? So we have pretty good faith in how valid the data on our database is. And once we start seeing a pattern that, hey, this is looking weird, this is kind of differing from what usually happens, then our system architects will look into that better and see, is this now an issue that is happening, or why have some massive funds started moving through mining operations and the likes. So we do have quite a few contingency plans for that, and I think that our CTO could answer those better. But maybe a bit longer session on those would be needed. But you can more than welcome to contact us for deeper understanding of that tech part.
Okay. Coming to the business case, software as a service for exchanges. I guess this is a monthly license fee, or something like that. I mean, that the scalability of that, I think, is limited. I mean, how many exchanges are there? I think it's a number that you can count. So the question is, are you also on transaction-based fees, which would make sense in your case, because that is, the volume is obviously going up and you should get your share out of it.
Yeah.
Pay a lump sum license fee. When we say law enforcement, hourly cost, that means you are analyzing forensically for the law enforcement those things.
Yeah.
It seems very labor intensive and only grows with more people. So I'm a bit hesitant about those business models where, every extra revenue comes with extra people. So scalability is limited there. And financial institutions, same thing, is if you sell them a white label, you also need to make sure, or need to try to get a transaction-based fee, so you're growing with the usage of the system. Because I can imagine, I saw on some of the presentations, 90% of your costs are right now personnel costs, labor costs, and that also indicates that there's a lot of people working on it, and you may want to, of course, flip that around to become a lesser of a ratio.
Absolutely.
And I saw the police report. Looks like you're creating that manually. I could, this could be a horrendous job if there are so many transactions that need to be reported, and you do this manually.
Oh yeah, I mean, how it works right now, it's usually that you get a report that you have to fill in on an Excel sheet with about 56 pages. So we feel that we have definitely minimized that job quite a lot, and I've heard that people have been quite happy with that. That they only have to fill in 3 different fields, and then that's it.
I have no understanding of what the volume is, but I can imagine.
Absolutely.
Automating these 3 inputs would be nice.
Yeah, of course, absolutely, and that is definitely something we're looking into doing, and even putting them into each jurisdiction. So Germany has their version, Denmark their own, so that is definitely in the pipeline to do. And when it comes to, if you look at my screen right now, you can see a little bit of one of the forensic investigations, how it is. And at the moment, what you do is you follow really the money trail to see where money has gone through, right? And we are also automating this. Our forensic investigators are pretty good at doing this at the moment. And what you're really doing is, well, like I said, following the money trail until you actually hit an exchange. And once you do hit an exchange, you hopefully that person, they have done their know your customer process, and that will allow the police or prosecutor to get a warrant and find out who that is linked to. What we're developing right now, it's under development, as I said, right now, is that this one-click investigator, where you will be able to just put in the address, the scam itself, and on that actually say, hey, where is this exchange? Where are the points where a KYC has been done? And then the system will just work in the background and it will spit out the information of where you should be looking at. And of course, you do have to have your own kind of assessment as well. Is this, if it's something in Brazil, are you going to contact Brazil or Interpol, or how is it going to work out? So of course it is working, and this is right now in, I would say, alpha, early beta. Georgia, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think early beta, something like that. So this is definitely coming, and we have been doing this with the help of the government. We received an R&D funding from the Finnish Innovation Fund to build this tool, and we are the first company of its sort to receive government funding to pursue work with cryptocurrencies directly. So there, Finland has been kind of leading that charge.
I saw one of your on this chart before that you have some competitors.
Yeah.
What is your secret sauce that distinguishes you from your competitors?
For one, I think that the fact that we are a bit younger as a team, it allows us to really be flexible with how we develop. Our knowledge within blockchain itself is quite vast.
Because I'm not a young person.
Well, I mean, on the sense of the company itself, like the company itself, it's founded 2 years ago, and when we look at the pricing that our competitors have put, these are extreme. They're very, very expensive, and for them to kind of lower the prices to our price point, I mean, I'm not saying that we're super cheap either, but for them to lower to their price point to ours, they will have some pretty unhappy investors, I would say. And that is because they entered in when it was a blue ocean. And a lot of what they do is kind of building a tool to analyze transaction and market trends, whilst we have built a tool that is like, this is what the regulation looked like. So we're building a tool for you to be compliant.
Guys, I'd like a wrap up. We have 2 minutes left, so wrap it up.
Just answer to that. Say we are a younger company and they are more expensive is pretty weak competitive advantage. So is there anything protected in your database or some assets that other ones don't have and others can't build?
Oh, well, yeah, our database is vast.
Oh, cool stuff. I built this myself and tomorrow I'll get out to your clients.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, I would say that the fact that you can flag your own transactions and really put the risk scores yourself on a database, I think that's a pretty big advantage, since a lot of them have asked about that. The fact that it's easy to use, way easier than the competitors, that has been quite well received, because of course these people are not everybody are expert forensic investigators. They're just case agents handling a case. So absolutely that. The real-time analysis is of course very important. The fact that we're not using a historical database, we're actually analyzing right now. And I think the last but not least would be the fact that we also have been able to find a little bit more geolocation on our systems, and kind of trace back to like where is this happening. I think those are, and then of course, yeah, well, cost, like the smaller companies, they go out of business because they cannot not afford these kind of solutions that are out there at the moment. So that is actually a pretty big pain point for the potential customers we have.
Yeah, if I may just fill in one short sentence also, is that once we developed this tool, it was actually from clients from our competitors, but they were really not happy because the unflexible systems and willingness to change into what they needed. So we actually started off with a pilot from our competitors to make sure that they were happy from that end and from a compliance perspective. So I think that also weighs in a lot to when we started to develop this.
Absolutely.
Gentlemen, unfortunately, we ran out of time. It was to give the initial feedback to the mentors. I hope you mentors, you got a good picture of Valega. The next company is already in the waiting room. So I want to thank you, Valega, for taking the time.
Thank you so much.
For the mentors, I do ask you to stay online. We're going to commercial break. Stretch, we have a 5-minute commercial break and we will continue with the next company.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hello everybody, I'm Sven Martinsson. I'm the co-founder and CEO of the blockchain analytics firm Valega Chain Analytics. I'm a Swedish Brazilian and living in Helsinki, Finland at the moment. And fun fact about me is I guess that I'm a huge gamer nerd, like proper one. So why did I become an entrepreneur? Well, that kind of just happened. Then I did not expect that to be a thing in my life, but here we are. And we founded the company because we have been following blockchain and cryptocurrencies for many, many years and seen huge potential in this new world economy and technology. However, there's of course been a lot of issues with it in terms of trust and illicit activities going on. So we set out to build a tool and a service that actually analyzes the blockchain and provides risk scores and the such for that, and all in case of compliance and mass adoption. So what do we expect from the accelerator program is really to get out there, build a strong brand, enter the German market, which is actually booming when it comes to blockchain and cryptocurrencies. And I guess that's about it. So, you know, stay safe and see you around.